Okay, welcome back to my stream. Some people may have noticed that there's something screwy going on with my last two streams. I figured out the problem, and I seem to have gotten it corrected. It's more to do with the game, and wasn't my connection that was this issue. But I did some troubleshooting since my last stream, and I think I have it solved. We'll see how it goes today. But needless to say, it means I will be re-recording my last few streams before I post them to YouTube. And I will be changing the net that I chose for the names that I chose for my night. There we go. Because it's just I don't want to keep mispronouncing their name, which I was doing. So I picked a name that's easier for me to remember how to pronounce. If I'd grown up speaking Arabic or a language similar, would have been one thing, but I didn't. And rather than keep mispronouncing the name, I will choose a name that's easier for me to remember how to pronounce. Okay, tweet is up. And people may notice that I'm streaming on a Thursday instead of a Wednesday. Something came up yesterday, so I was unable to stream like I intended. So I was like, okay, I'm streaming on Thursday again. And also, if Pride Month is this month, it started on the 1st. So happy Pride Month to everyone. I am queer myself, so this is a month to celebrate myself and my fellow queers in some form or another. Okay. Okay, so I will not be re-streaming the other two prologues. I will re-record them offline and upload them to YouTube. So if you want to see them properly recorded, keep an eye on my YouTube channel. I will try to get the first one up this weekend, and then the next one up the weekend after. And then this one will go up after that. So yeah, let's go ahead and start with the Nomad route, which is probably the one that everybody wants to do first. Except for me, I did the ambassador first. It's just personal preference. So, new game. So, Nasreen. Also, if I can read my own handwriting, I wrote it down. Yeah, Nasreen. Same last name as the other two, because I like to do that. She, her. I had to remember which pronouns I picked. So this is the Nomad route. Heaven and hell suppose two distinct species of men, the good and the bad. Okay, I'm watching this stream on my Twitch channel, and it's keeping up. So awesome, that's sick. So good to know how to correct that. But the greatest part of mankind float betwixt vice and virtue. David Hume. In the country of Errant is the kingdom of Novus, a place steeped in a bloody and tumultuous history in its climb to glory. The king and queen hold peace over their domain, but with questionable means. Military strength is as powerful as ever, and their researchers toil over new ideas to advance the realm, sometimes in ways most would question. So I thought the problem with my stream was my internet connection, but it was actually the game itself was using so much of the CPU power that the the program that I'm using to encode these was lagging behind, so that's why it was very slow compared to an actual playthrough, compared to previous playthroughs. But the games I played before this one didn't have that problem. So I did some poking around online to figure out how to correct that, and it seems to... I went with the first suggestion, and if that didn't work, I was going to do the next suggestion, but the first suggestion did the job. Often uncomfortable, yet the cost of power comes with hubris of man. One of Novus' most celebrated knights, Sir Eric, can't talk, I promise. Mistrom has served the crown for many years and is well loved by the people. However, his love and ambition soon stripped him of his rank of knight commander when he disobeyed the crown in favor of his own morals. His dishonorable discharge has sent waves of unease rippling across the kingdom, only serving to fuel the people's distrust in their rulers. And then this is different from the previous two routes, which hopefully I will have uploaded before this one. Many things lurk in the darkness in Novus, both seen and unseen, but a new shadow appears within the kingdom. A letter is passed from gloved hand to gloved hand, and the deed is done. A figure bathed in solitude, seeking out their new home in foreign lands, a home not chosen, but assigned. Shortly after their arrival, the whispers begin, whispers of dissidence and discord, of a failed attempt on the lives of Novus' king and queen. So this is another reason for doing this one last, is each prologue is kind of sequential. Like the first prologue with the ambassador, it happens before this attempt on the king and queen's life. The knight's prologue happens directly after, and then this one happens like the day after. So they remain living and breathing. Their would-be assassin is still at large, and this is where our story begins. Errant Kingdom. Copying or distributing the game and its assets is punishable by law. When you steal from an indie developer, an attractive demon loses their horns. Which demon could they be talking about? Prologue on the precipice of change. Okay, and I didn't say before, but the name Nasreen means wild rose. Which I just thought was kind of cool. Okay. First, turn on the volume. Oh, good, it's staying down this time. We'll turn this down as well. Okay. So here we go. Ooh, turn that off. They're fucking late and I'm at my wit's end. I've been waiting for what feels like forever for this informant to come and collect me. I have no idea who they are, what they look like, or if they will or won't try to shank me on sight. I guess that's just an occupational hazard when you're a shady type like me, right? Holding that thought, I reached down and pat my coat, feeling the familiar solid edge of my dagger at my hip. Just checking. Novus seems like such a simple, sunny place on the surface, but there's something inherently unsettling about the way in which everyone around here moves, talks, thinks. I've hardly been here a week, and I'm finding it more difficult to blend into these I've hardly been here. Oh. It's definitely a typo. Blend into these surroundings than I anticipated. Okay, so they actually arrived earlier than either the ambassador or the knight. Well, maybe the ambassador. But their story doesn't pick up until the day after the attack. There's a certain staleness in the air, and it leaves a sense of unease settling like a bag of rocks in the pit of my stomach. Or maybe I'm just hungry. Always a possibility. Suddenly I spot a figure running towards me. My hand immediately moves to rest upon the handle of my dagger, my fingers curling around it tightly as I slowly begin to unsheath it from its holster. The figure skips to a stop in front of me, kicking up dust, a hood and face mask ensuring all I can see is a pair of wide brown eyes and a shock of snow-white hair. Who could this be? What I assume to be human raises both hands and shows me their palms, fingerless gloves granting me the sight of heavily scarred fingertips. This is unquestionably someone like me, someone also aware of their surroundings. Is this one supposed to be meeting? So, just enjoy the sprite. Far too many belts. More belts than necessary. There we go. Those dark eyes swept down to the dagger and clutched and then back to my face. Anyone other than me would have simply assumed they were blinking. The movement was so subtle. Whoa there with that thing. I'm not here to harm you. I'm here to save you. And by the way, I decided not to do voices. Trying to remember what I was doing for voices is frustrating. What makes you think I need saving? Just come with me if you want to live. Okay, do we go willingly, or I don't think so, buddy. We'll go willingly. He wiggles his fingers, bouncing on the balls of his feet like he has so much energy he might burst at any moment. He quickly inclines his head once, twice, jerkily gesturing for me to follow him. We don't have all day. Step forward, just in the water, and he steps closer, practically toe to toe with me. Tell me your name. He tugs on the mask that covers his nose and mouth, revealing a lopsided grin and a scar that cuts from the edge of his jaw to the middle of his cheek, served in contrast to his tawny skin. It's Raiden. I'm with the hand. You know, the snaky one. I raise my brow at him, scanning his form. I don't want to believe someone as overly jittery as him to be a member of the infamously cold and calculated hand of the serpent. Gilbert runs the street, covers everything in the sight of our ancestors. And that's just what I've heard. I feel like that doesn't only have an abundance of nasty little secrets and a handful of the best assassins under their thumb, but they create their own unnecessary chaos to throw people off. He rolls his eyes again, running his free hand over his face. Yeah, I know. I'm a handsome guy. You don't have to stare all day. Just come on. Things are about to get real weird around here, and you'll want to trust me. He now stretches his hand with dramatic flair. I stare at it for a moment, and something inside me tells me to go with him. I hate to trust my gut, lest I end up with a dagger in it, but I curl my fingers around his, and can't help but smile at the stupid grin that crosses his face. You made the right choice. You're smart. You get points. And a wink. Points for what? Ooh, you know. He smiles, and I still don't know. Then he's running, so I guess I'm running too. He drives me through the town, expertly weaving in and out of the sparse crowds and swiping an apple from a market stand faster than the vendor can register. He turns his head, still running, and winks at me. Gods help me. Hardly anyone is interested in two cloaked figures starting through Novus' main town square, but then I've come to learn that this is hardly a normal place. Raiden skids to a stop right outside a ratty-looking tavern. The pauper's crying. He only releases my hand when I awkwardly worm my fingers to pry myself free from his grip. He pockets his mask and takes down his hood, his fluffy white hair springing free. He then cocks his head and presses his thumb to the weathered wooden door. Just stick with me and act normal. I laugh to myself, wondering if acting normal is within his capabilities. As with most buildings I find myself in, I immediately scan the room for exits and potential dangers. It's a harmless enough looking space, sparse but still warm and full of rosy-cheeked patrons who clearly love to daydream. However, something or someone immediately catches my eye. A questionable figure sits at the back of the room, obsidian hair hanging over her shoulder, one side artfully braided, her eyes just as dark. She's watching us like a hawk, and it's not subtle. I narrow my gaze at her for a second before I find my composure and touch Raiden by the wrist, tugging him back against my chest as he tries to wander off. I keep my voice as low as I possibly can and whisper in his ear. There's an assassin over there. He's dark brown sparrow, but his concern isn't long-lived. He's smiling. Then he's laughing. He gently places his hand over mine where I touch him in a reassuring, almost patronizing manner. He's a good eye, but that particular assassin is your informant. I release him, my shoulders sagging with relief. Fighting in a tavern is really quite shit, and I hate it. So it's safe to say I'm glad she's not hostile. Also, she looks relatively hard, and I don't fancy placing her at such an early hour if I can help it. I'll get us some drinks, and you go say hello. She's the one who does bite, though. He sighs, clapping a weirdly shaped scar on his forearm as he does so. Looks like teeth marks. We've only just met. I'd rather you keep the details of your sex life to yourself. He stops, crinkling his nose in over-egged disgust. Novus arsehole, no, not like that. If it was like that, I'd be a much happier and far less bullied man. Plus, I'm not her type. In fact, I think she'd rather impale herself on her own dagger. Go on, off you trot. With that, he walks over to the bar, finger gunning the barkeep, who looks thoroughly unimpressed with him and like he's more than used to his antics. I take a deep breath and step towards the booth in which this mysterious woman sits. She stands where she sees me approaching, reaching out to offer me her hand. Name's Layla. Whatever he told you, ignore him. He's a snake. Oh. I wonder if I her. Did I romance her? Spoilers, the answer is no. She's got a crush. Brain, please, not now. She tips her head towards Raiden with a look of barely disguised disdain. He waves at her merrily. Liz scoffs and takes her seat, gesturing for me to sit opposite her. I'd have killed him years ago if I thought I'd survive him. She's relaxed now, practically a different person to the one that looked ready to stab me in the heart when I walked in. Really? That guy? There is something sinister about him. Though his apparent idiocy seems sincere, there's something about him, something dark lingering underneath that sunny exterior. I pride myself on having ironclad instincts, and my gut is telling me that Raiden is not at all what he seems. Layla sighs and gazes down at her blunt nails. I know what you're thinking, and you're right to be cautious of him. If you watch his back, he'll watch yours twice as hard. Just don't stab him in his if you enjoy living. I reach into my pocket and pull out the ominous missive that I was handed early this morning by a skittish messenger. It's written on a crumpled, bloody parchment, but the blood doesn't mar the message. A smirk hooks the corner of her mouth, which takes a quick look before returning it to my waiting hand. She doesn't speak for a moment, simply stares at me instead. It's unnerving, and her gaze is one of unbridled, shameless scrutiny. That isn't from your lot. I figured, we're not big on snakes and viscerous. She has to laugh. She opens her mouth to speak, but she's interrupted by the rather obnoxious appearance of Raiden. Elle slashes onto the table as he sets down 3 overfilled tankards and flops into the seat right beside Layla, knocking her with his shoulder entirely on purpose. Of course he does. She shoves at him in a way an annoyed sister might, a troublesome little brother. But all Raiden can do, all he always seems to do, is smile. Watch it, brat. I'm still getting your vomit out of my best boots. Don't need you stinking up this outfit, too. Her words go right over his head. Are you talking about the, finger guns? Layla growls under her breath, her jaw clenched. She brushes a stray strand of hair behind her ear and straightens up, perfectly poised once again, despite a brief respite in her impressive demeanor. No, but I was before you so rudely interrupted. Will someone please tell me what the fuck is going on? They exchange a look, one that lingers. Raiden sighs and cradles his tankard, clearly offering Layla the floor. She leans forward, clever eyes checking our surroundings before she speaks in a hushed tone. There was an assassination attempt in the palace last night. Someone tried to off the king and queen at the same time. Reflexively, my brow rises, and my gaze flickers to Raiden. He scoffs loudly, taking a swig of his booze and slamming it back on the table, foam frothing messily over the side. How many times do I have to say this? I don't miss. I raise a brow at Layla, and she shrugs, admitting defeat. He doesn't miss. Annoyingly, I'd be much richer if he did. Raiden mouths a silent thank you. And you? She shakes her head slowly. I believe her for some reason. Not my kind of job. Not one I would take willingly, anyway. Here, it's far too messy. Pretend a job that gets innocent people hurt. Isn't that exactly what an assassin who took the job would say? Raiden tugs his bottom lip between his teeth and chews through his smirk, nudging Layla with his elbow and leaning forward to point a finger at me over the table. You're smart. I like you. Layla grabs her tankard and smiles over the rim before taking a very tentative sip. Consider yourself marked for death. Oi, be nice. Never to you, little snake. I choose to ignore them, far more concerned with the seemingly very fucking important information I've just been given. From what I've learned in my short time in Novus, the kingdom is on the precipice of revolution, thanks by sudden and apparently tactful relocation. Now I'm starting to piece it all together. The time is too perfect. My people must be involved, right? Why send me here otherwise? To say Novus's relations with Bithris are tense would be a massive fucking understatement. I gather you're calm because you're looking forward to the chaos that will inevitably follow. Layla and Raiden both smile. Sinister, wicked grins. Such a bold attempt will set off all of the noble families and then some. There will be heavy contracts coming out of our arses, and we're just going to sit back and bask in the disorder. And coin. You weren't given that letter for nothing. They want you. The guild. Our guild. Are you in? I'm in. What's that for me? I mean, I haven't had to do anything. They are asking me to join. I would be an idiot not to say yes. The Hand of the Serpent is notorious and terrible, and I'm most definitely in. This must have been part of the plan all along, I suppose. I thought I was just sent here to gather intel, but to have such a golden opportunity laid out before me, I'd be a fool not to grab it and run. I'm in. If I'm truly to infiltrate the kingdom and stick myself where it counts, I guess there's no better place to start. Raiden's dark brows climbed to his hairline. Just like that? Well, that was easy peasy. I shrugged. Just like that. So, no blood sacrifice, no terrifying initiation rituals. Is that how they do it in Bithris? Easy. Layla sighs and moves to stand, nudging Raiden out of her way as she slides out of the booth. Not exactly the setting, is it? It's not going to be all sunshine and roses, though, so don't get too comfy. She ruffles Raiden's hair and shoves his head away, smirking to herself. Places to go, people to see. That's what I like about their relationship, is it's clearly brother and sister. And clearly big sister, annoying younger brother. There's different flavors of sibling relationships. And I love this one. Because despite the way Layla behaves and talks and acts, she's clearly fond of Raiden. Don't get our new shadow killed too fast, little snake. Don't ever call me little snake or I'll stab you right in the eye, got it? I laugh. Understood. So if we're going to be working together, I guess I'd better know your name? It's Nasreen. He takes his elbow on the table and offers me his hand. It almost looks like he needs to arm wrestle me. I take it, and we shake. It's a pleasure to make your acquaintance, Nasreen. He lets my name roll off his tongue lazily, like he's tasting it, feeling it out. And I don't know why my voice does like that. So, what now? Raiden shrugs and prods the side of his tankard, his shoulders slumped. The council will make an announcement sometime today, apparently. They know the word will get out, and they want to at least attempt to be ahead of the rumors. How do you know this? He simply scoffs, like the answer is the most obvious thing in the world. Please. Anyway, rumors tend to spiral quite beautifully in testy situations like this. The look on his face tells me he may often be responsible for those beautifully spiraling rumors. Not your job to spread them today, though? His eyes widen for a brief moment, and then he laughs in quick, sharp snort. Wow, you're forward. But no, not today. Come on, the bar is empty. I hate sitting all caged in like this. He crosses the room and hoists himself onto one of the biggest stools with an elegance I didn't quite expect, but probably should have. All his little tics and eccentricities have been staged, and that I'm sure of now. I take a seat beside him and can't quite seem to remove my eyes from his face. I want to ask him about his scars. So cliche, but often interesting. about how many people he's killed, but instead I bite my tongue. Then Brennan turns to face me, back with a whip. I look straight past me and over my shoulder. I turn and follow his line of sight. You could hear a pin drop and the door swings open. A figure both tall and wide is silhouetted in its frame, pausing for a moment before broad shoulders slump into feet as they step inside. I wonder who this could be. Some patrons raise their tankers, others turn away in disgust. Whoever they are, they appear to be somewhat polarizing. Raiden nudges me in the arm with a bony elbow like we've been mates for years, breaking my trance. Sir Eric Mister, former, sir. The palace will be onto him like flies around shit soon enough. Then Raiden thrusts his arm in the air and waves quite enthusiastically, capturing both the former Sir Eric's attention and his disdain if the grimace he offers is any indicator. Ray? He nods at my companion, then at me, his amber gaze lingering for a second before he turns and raises 2 fingers at the bar woman. Usual, please, Nemesis. I turn to Raiden and quickly whisper, the barkeep is called Nemesis? He snorts, yes, but don't ask her why. I feel myself sitting a little straighter when Eric takes a seat upon the tiny stool beside me. Something about his presence is suffocating. There's also a strange comfort to it. I look at Raiden and try to convey my best, do we want to be sat here as the palace might come to tackle him look, but the assassin is oblivious. He leans over me and swipes at Eric, who simply swats him away as if he's done this 1,000 times before. Bold of you to come back here. Eric protectively curls his fingers around the neck of the bottle Nemesis places in front of him. Like I said to you earlier, they can come for me if they wish. I have nothing to hide. He then brings the bottle to his lips and takes a generous swig of the dark liquid, keeping his head back so his long burnished gold hair hangs midway down his back. Fuck me. I mean, not literally, but oh my gosh. Ugh. I mean, look at him. So gorgeous. You know, if I were inclined to it, I would probably want to climb him like a tree. Besides, he slides the bottle past me right into Raiden's waiting palm and offers us both a slice knife. Not like I'm doing anything else. Raiden swipes from it and makes a weird face, sticking his tongue out and crinkling his nose, wiping his mouth off on the back of his hand before he offers it to me with a waggle of his brows. Want some? No thanks. Barely noon. Sure, why not? I take the bottle from him and give it a sniff. It's rum. Strong rum. God. Today really is going to be a taxing one, like Raiden seems to think. A little assistance with some courage wouldn't hurt. I take a tentative sip, feeling Eric's eyes burning into the back of my head. I politely hand it back to him the moment I'm done. An interesting choice for this time of day. Eric shrugs and cradles the bottle between his palms, staring into the golden depths like it might tell him the meaning of life. Days like this, it is sorely needed. Something about Eric makes me want to know everything about him. Just the way he looks, the way he holds himself, feels a little like looking in a mirror, in a way. I, too, am tired and weary, and I wonder what happened to him, because no way does a guy who looks like that have a hard life for nothing. There's a lingering sadness that practically oozes from his every pore, and the premature wrinkles around his eyes tell me his story isn't a simple one. Raiden has said former Knight Commander, and the way the assassin eyes him is affectionate. You don't just give up a prestigious position like that at such a young age. He leans across me to address Eric and keeps his voice pitched low. I told you this morning you should lay low. They're sending one of the nobles into town to make the announcement. Eric visibly blanches at that, but only momentarily. I gather he's quite the expert at hiding his emotions, and there's something about his stoicism I admire. One of the nobles, Interesting. Though not like the monarchs would grace us with their presence. Raiden leans closer, reaching for him, a gloved hand placed upon Eric's wrist. I see his knuckles bleed white where he squeezes him tight. Go home. If I don't get the chance to fill you in, you will. Now, I have been puzzling over why I like certain characters of a certain type, like the roguish type, like Raiden. Sometimes I like the character, sometimes I don't. And I haven't quite figured out the distinction, but I think I'm getting there. Like, for Raiden, it's the split of his care for Eric. It's clearly not just stab assassin. He has a heart under there. And you don't see it, but on Layla's sprite, you could see that she had a tattoo on her arm of a snake wrapped around a dagger. Raiden has the same tattoo, but he also has flowers around it. And you get a chance to ask him about that. I forget exactly when, and he explains why. And it shows that there is a good heart underneath. And I think characters like that, who are basically they're roguish type, but they have a heart of gold. I love that. That there's this hidden layer to them. But other characters where you don't obviously see that heart of gold right away, I find it hard to warm up to them. But once I see a hint of that, then I will warm up to them. But I have to see that there is that inner goodness in them. Otherwise, I won't like them. Because to me, a rogue being a rogue just for the hell of it, that's boring. But a rogue who has goodness hidden underneath, that's interesting. And I want to know more. I want to get to know them. So, I think that's why I like some characters like Raiden and other characters not so much. Eric pointedly ignores Raiden's gentle advice, watching me in his peripheral instead. Inclines his head towards me, addressing the assassin as he removes his hand and sits straight on his stool. But that also explains why I like Han Solo so much. Who's your new friend, anyway? How rude of me. His grin tells me he doesn't care. Eric, this is Nastrin. Nastrin, this is Errant Kingdom, former Knight Commander of our dear beloved Lunaris Kingdom. Eric scoffs, necking another gulp of rum and wiping his mouth with the back of his hand. The pleasure is mine, I'm sure. What horrible sin did you commit to get yourself mixed up with the likes of this one? He jabs his thumb towards Raiden before running his hand through his unruly bronze hair. Raiden sticks his tongue out, earning a look from Eric that's nothing short of fond annoyance. I'm not actually sure. Sounds about right. Snakes are good at striking when you're not looking. We sit in slightly awkward silence for a beat, and I wonder if I should break it and ask one of the million questions that sit heavy upon my tongue. Would it be impolite to ask him why he's no longer a knight? It's not the kind of job you just give up, especially at that level. That's uncounting 4 limbs. So, Eric, what do you do? He doesn't hesitate to respond, still staring at the bottle. His answer is clearly a reflex, rehearsed even. I'm a bounty hunter. Monster hunting, Have you been doing that long? He hugs a quiet laugh, poking at his bottom lip with his pen before turning to face me. His eyes are tired, but burn brightly enough to make me sit a little straighter. I gather he was an impressively terrifying knight commander. I certainly wouldn't fuck with him in a suit of armor. Raiden whistles low through his clenched teeth behind me, so I pointedly ignore him. I can practically feel his smug aura. I try to convey that I'm sympathetic to whatever situation he's found himself in, for the purpose of guarding information more than anything else. What happened? He shrugs his broad shoulders, keeping his gaze fixed with my own. There's a slight flush to his ruddy cheeks, I can't tell if it's from the booze or if it's frustration. There was a mission, one of which I cannot divulge the details lest I fancy my head on a spike, but the second I drew my sword, I knew that I was done for. I lost everything in one fell swoop, and I considered myself lucky that I had shown such mercy. I stare at him, and I don't ask him if that's it, but I feel it in my bones. There's so much more to his story. You hear more. I don't remember where, but you do. I turn to Raiden, who watches us carefully. He's chatty, isn't he? He breaks the tension beautifully. Eric grunts. I need to take a leak. We both watch him head for the restroom in silence, and, as I suspected he would, Raiden slides over and leans in to eagerly divulge information that I suspect isn't his to share. As you haven't heard of him, discharge sent waves throughout the whole of Errant and Novus. It was really messy, nasty stuff. He leans close, too close for almost strangers, but I want to hear what he has to say. The rumor is that he just obeyed a direct order from the Crown during a pretty important mission. It was a bloody scene. I saw it with my own eyes in the aftermath. Even I've not made that much of a mess before, and I am not known for my mercy. He shudders. The thing is that such a massacre in the name of the kingdom might have been alright if it was for the good of the kingdom, but many a knight lost their lives too, not just the bad guys. That's his responsibility, or was, I guess. He pounds his elbow upon the bar, propping his squished cheek against his palm. You say it's just a rumor, right? He shrugs and doesn't elaborate, as if he either didn't hear me or is pointedly avoiding responding. Well, something sure as shit happened, and he says he lost everything. He means everything. He lived in the palace since he was a kid. He loved his job, was great at it too. It's sickening how humble he is, really. Everyone loved him, even those who hated the monarchy. The people literally called him the noble knight. He lost his family, his home, his title. Can you imagine that? I don't really have any of those things to lose. Maiden smiles, a soft and almost charming one. Same, but imagine if you did have all of that and then it just got yanked away from you. You can't even talk about it because they will literally kill you. The entire kingdom is split over whether they want to kill him or Titian. No one knows what really happened, but everyone loves a good story. I see his eyes flick to the side and watch him straighten, hearing heavy footsteps approaching as Eric takes his seat once again. So the crown is so desperate to hide something that they disgrace their most beloved knight. To refrain from killing him? Surely that would have been the easier option. Okay, I'm going to pause here. Not literally pause. I just need to take a quick break. Helps if I wait to mute the mic after I finish talking, right? Right. Okay, I'm back. It took a little while. You think they'll question you? Eric groans, rubbing his bearded chin with a rough palm. Maybe. Who fucking knows? Raiden jumps up, drawing more than a few pairs of eyes. When he does so, thanks to the very loud scrape of his stool, he clicks his neck, then stretches his arms across the front of his chest. You make a shit assassin anyway. You're too tall and wide, and there's absolutely nothing subtle about you, especially at night when you're too sloshed to walk straight. He punctuates the words tall and wide with a flail of his hand just to really get the point across. And you're saying you're subtle? Eric laughs softly, and I feel a weird sense of pride at coaxing such a noise from him. His eyes crinkle at the corners, and I realize just how endearing his presence is when he smiles. No. Last night coin would barely cover the cost of a rusty dagger, let alone a hired blade. Raiden winks at me for what feels like the 50th time today and taps his forefinger against the end of my nose. I'm subtle when it counts. Never judge a book by its cover. Oh my gosh. I have a feeling I know what I was going to say, but I stopped myself. Eric simply shakes his head, still smiling as he wraps his lips around the head of the bottle and takes his longest drag yet, savoring the burn with a delighted exhale. I should be heading out anyway. Don't want to hang around and catch the wrong person's eyes. Finally seeing the value in living, are you? Don't be silly. Raiden wraps his arms around Eric and squeezes him in what looks like two of those awkward one-sided hands, ruffling his hair as he pulls away. Eric grumbles low and deep, but doesn't move to push him away. He's also doing a bad job at hiding a soft smile, so I gather that he doesn't actually loathe Raiden. Raiden then sails up to me with a little wiggle of his hips and leans in close enough to ensure no one other than Eric can hear his next words. I can get you access to this house tonight if you fancy an adventure. Eric furrows his brow, and it's safe to say he looks exasperated with Raiden's proposition, but he stays silent. Duh. An adventure? I didn't run through by the pointy end of a Novian knight's sword an adventure to you, Raiden? Not all of the knights here are from Novus. But all of the swords are equally as pointy, right? Eric coughs a poorly disguised laugh against the back of his hand. Not true, smartass. The Knight Commander sword is far pointier than the rest. The way Eric's broad shoulders tense as those words fall from Raiden's lips is hard to miss, but the assassin ignores him and continues. Come on, I have things to do. Are you coming or not? It's really no skin off my nose if you choose to refuse such a prestigious offer. At that, Eric finally shows some semblance of interest in something for the first time since he walked through the door. Prestigious? Really, Raiden? You're committing a felony, not giving Nashman access to the royal ball. I'm always up for a little adventure. Where and when do we begin? His grin widens exponentially. Meet me at the bridge on the far side of town at midnight. If you're not there on the dot, I won't wait for you. Time's of the essence. The palace unfortunately only has so many weaknesses that I can exploit. I nod and he regards me in a way that looks like he might be a little bit impressed at my apparent willingness. I hope to see you later. Don't get into any trouble between then and now. Oh, I'll try. When I glance back at Eric, he's gingerly sipping his rum, filling with the soggy label on the bottle, not pausing to look up when he next speaks. Be careful. Always am, sir. I turn to bid him farewell, but he's already gone. He does that. I'd be convinced he's secretly a mage if it wasn't so Raiden. Yes. Oh, the art. Oh, so gorgeous. I shift my stool a little closer to him, seeing an opportunity and taking it as he appears to actually want to talk to me without Raiden looming. He's like the human equivalent of a badly received joke, isn't he? But that earns a small laugh from the ex-knight, and I find myself once again feeling rather smug about electing such a reaction from Mr. Dark and Rudy. He is, you're right, but he'll grow on you like a fungus, and he is a good man, despite his extracurricular activities. So, the murder? Eric grimaces, nodding. I don't agree with his choice of career, but then I think it wasn't much of a choice at all. They take these kids off the streets at a young age to train them up, It's all he's ever known, killing. He furrows his brows hard, an impressive knot forming between them, but he shakes off whatever worries him impressively fast and turns to me a forced smile. So I suppose you are one and the same, you and him in a way? I open my mouth to respond, but I think my answer may call for a little caution. Has he read me that quick, or is he simply assuming due to my association with the assassin? Another choice, and I forgot to do something. I will be right back again. Okay. Yeah, so let's answer. I could have told anyone if that's what you think. I do what it takes to survive. That's none of your business. I walk through life simply doing what it takes to survive. I was not born into nobility, therefore spilling blood has been necessary at times. I believe in my cause and in my people. I assume you've also done things for your kingdom that you aren't proud of? He frowns a little harder. Indeed. Those things are the reason why I find it hard to sleep lately. I tap his bottle with my knuckles. 2 nightmares, then. Eric has a quiet, sad laugh and tips the bottle towards me. 2 nightmares. Regardless, I begrudgingly have a soft spot for Raiden, I suppose. I seem to attract troublesome creatures like that who take a liking to me, despite me offering them nothing but a grunt in return. Keeps me smart, though, I guess. Even chaotic company is company. Who else could he be talking about? I smile, suspecting that he offers much more in the way of affection than he lets on. You don't seem totally emotionally unavailable. He scrunches up his nose and tips his head this way and that, contemplating my assessment of him. If you say so. Just as I feel like I might be on the verge of pulling some kind of meaningful conversation from him, his hands figure slides into Raiden's still warm seat and draws Eric's attention. So here, guys, this person has a lot more open fondness than either Raiden or myself. A friend, then? What are you doing back here? Thought you'd be scurrying about town sniffing out secrets. Musical laughter filters from beneath the mud-colored hood, and I see a flash of a smile. A very sharp, very pointy smile, 2 rows of shark-like fangs peeking from behind rosy pink lips. I register pointed ears, not human, and their eyes are dark in color, brown but wide and somehow bright. I do my scurrying in the dark, dear Eric. It's a bit busy out there for my liking today. The town's pillars are all aflutter thanks to some nasty little rumors the birds have been spreading. Their attention is entirely focused upon me as I speak, though they're clearly addressing Eric. I feel scrutinized in a way I haven't before, my skin prickling with heat. Eric scoffs when the sound seems to break their interest in me, drawing their heavy gaze and causing it to soften exponentially. You know better than anyone that they're not just rumors, Rue. You probably knew that long before the rest of us. The stranger tugs down their hood. Suppose, fun to pretend the kingdom isn't spiraling into chaos in the shadows, though, innit? Anyway, are you going to introduce me to this mysterious shadow who sits in my spot? This Rue tips her chin towards me before resting it against their palm, smiling softly and easing the discomfort that their earlier staring set in the pit of my stomach. My skin cools off, but those goosebumps still remain. I reach across Eric's hulking form and enthusiastically offer Rue my hand. It's Nasreen. Their smile grows into a beaming, still unnervingly toothy grin as they grab my hand, squeeze, and shake. Lovely, a pleasure indeed. I whisper my name under my breath, just checking that it still belongs to me. I've had it stolen once or twice by Faye, after all. I don't fancy going through that again. Rue giggles, their ears just wiggling as they watch me. I want to take a friend's name, dear Shadow. Eric grunts a laugh, poking one of his eyebrows and staring at them accusingly. Tried to take Raiden's though, didn't you? Rue rolls her eyes and slumps against him, resting their head upon his shoulder and staring up at him through long lashes. Knew it wasn't his thing to steal. I was just messing. As if Rue can hear the confused cogs creaking in my brain, they sit up straight as fast as a whip and shake their head. Nope, don't ask me. I cannot tell you. Only the demon and I know the snake's name. Such a precious thing is an assassin's real name. They even know it themselves. I open my mouth to speak, but find my brain well and truly scrambled. Am I shocked I didn't keep such secrets? No. Also, demon? There are demons here? A demon that Raiden is friendly enough with to divulge what surely must be a rather important secret? Oh, you have no idea. Talk me sideways. Maybe I will like it here after all. Eric clears his throat and snaps me from my eternal crisis, fisting his now empty bottle and offering it to Nemesis. She swipes it from him with a wink and checks in under the bar. I'll be off then. Rue watches, unaffected, and Dancing groans with the effort. Something clicks loudly, and I gather it's his neck by the way he clutches it and twists his head. Another impressive click rings out, and he finally relaxes his posture, rounding his shoulders and groaning loudly. I mean, a big sword will do that to a man. It'll do it to anyone my age. Rue's sword, joining him in standing and tugging their hood back up. You're a baby still, just a little tiny baby in the grand scheme of this world. Baby. Really? Really, Rue? Let's go that route. I know, I'm gonna cop. He's many attention super quick. Really. Yeah, I'm not. Okay. That's it. A white, frustrated flush creeps under his ruddy cheeks, freckles on his back, and plenty against his sun-kissed skin. Do not call me a baby. We've spoken about this, have we not? Rue simply grins. Eric turns and begins to head for the door, once again drawing the attention of nearly every eye in the room. Rue bounced behind him, tapping their palms against his back. Just playing, big guy. I would never, ever, ever want to root your impressive masculinity. Then, when at the door, Rue pauses, taking hold of Eric's shirt and stopping him from escaping as they turn to look at me. You coming or not, Shadow? Well, I guess I better watch his speed, shouldn't I? I jump up and I follow the bounty hunter and the Fae into the light. And this whole beginning was the demo for Errant Kingdom, which I think is part of the reason that people tend to do the Nomad part first, because they started it already. It's like, might as well keep going. One thing about Novus I haven't quite formed a fully fledged opinion on it just yet is the weather. It's muggy, too warm and too bright, and a nomad like myself, who's accustomed to wearing layers that do their best to disguise, isn't all that fond of the heat. So, with sunshine often comes beauty, and despite the dark and dangerous nature of Novus, it is a beautiful place. Everything is warm and colored, welcoming, and everyone wears rich, earthy colors that make you feel like you're home. As I follow the two figures ahead of me towards the growing crowd of people who gather around a hastily built faux stage in the middle of the town square, in the distance I spot an approaching envoy. I see sunlight bouncing off the obsidian armor of the Novian knights that surround the nobility, and I can't help but wonder, will the king and queen be with them? Eric towers above most of the crowd, and with a clear view he stares straight ahead, his expression unreadable. No, they wouldn't expose themselves so soon after, you know. Rue stands shoulder to shoulder with me, their hood up and covering their ears. As common as they are in Errantes, I gather they'd rather not have any extra attention right now. They'll be hiding away in their gilded rooms under lock and sword, I guarantee you that. Eric grumbles under his breath, but I don't quite catch what he says. He turns to face us and doesn't even appear to consider hesitating to bid us farewell. Then he's pushing most of stand beside us aside and trying not to escape the crowd. You're leaving? He pauses, but I can tell he's pissed off about it. The way he's holding himself, shoulders tense, fists clenched, is screaming, get me out of here. Yes, I'm leaving. Rue shifts awkwardly beside me. Don't you want to hear the speech? He sighs and runs a hand through his matted hair, fingers getting stuck in a knot that he so duly annoyed. I think it's best that I'm as far away from the palace as possible, given my situation. Besides, he looks at Rue and smiles sadly. His specialty, apparently, it almost looks like an apology, and he's exceedingly good at tugging at the heartstrings with that strangely kind face of his. His tired gaze then falls back to me. Imagine feeling sick to your stomach at the thought of seeing somebody you used to wake up beside. Not only that, but the person I love like a daughter hates me so much that I'm pretty sure she'd run me through with her sword if she got the chance. It's about 5 minutes away from being too close for comfort. That's why I can't march. I can't take the heartache. Not today. Enjoy the speech. Then he turns on his heel and he leaves with a dismissive wave. Oh, Eric! Oh, that hits so much harder once you know more about his backstory. We both watch him disappear in the crowd, the people parting for him even where he goes against my natural flow, and my companion nudges me with a pointy elbow. She's not even coming. Drew says it so quietly that I assume they didn't intend for him to hear, maybe thinking it's best not to try and persuade him otherwise, to have him basking in his misery. Leave him basking in his misery. Ugh. I can't read, I promise. I can't place why, but I suppose it'd be too much of an attention draw to stand beside anyway. Who exactly is she? Lady Maja. Ah, that would be the Archmage Raiden was talking about then. The other woman he mentioned. Did Raiden talk about Maja? I don't remember. I don't think he did. And the other one? Oh, I'm sure he'll meet her. The Dark Knight can't miss a glare like that. Come on, we better get a good view or we won't hear a thing. These pastimes tend to be all polite and quiet. They seem unconcerned with the swift disappearance of the former knight, their hands firmly shoved in their pockets as they push forward into the densely packed crowd. Is he... Drew stops, turned to face me with a sharp grin. Eric will be fine. He's a big boy, if you hadn't noticed. Come on. Despite the daggers on display in their mouths, their impeccable ease calms me. They spin with fire, the cloak swaying with emotion, and I eagerly follow them. The crowd is exceedingly loud and clearly quite excited for this little announcement, and I wonder how they'd be acting if they knew what it was for. So, from what I can gather, half or more of the population would be happy to see the monarchs bleeding. Bruce has stand in their tracks before me, holding up their hand as a signal for me to pause too. Their fingers wiggle as if they're waving, and then they quickly yank down their hoods. The pointed ears and that orange curl springing free, no longer cause for them to be discreet apparently. I swear, these humans need to get some hobbies. Imagine this being this excited over a boring old speech by some boring ambassador. People love to feel involved. It's just human nature. Gosh. Like I said, humans need hobbies. Their manages to drag us near the front, much to the behest of most of the people we pushed in front of. We settle in our spots as a gaggle of courtiers take their seats. It's my first real look at any nobility or palace dwellers since I arrived, and I idly deduce that they're just the same as the ones at home, stuffy, well-fed, poorly dressed. Apart from one impossibly attractive dark-haired one who looks like they'd rather be anywhere else, so I try not to stare too long. I wonder who that could be. I begin hearing a few whispers of disappointment. The Novians perturbed that their beloved lord and lady aren't here when all this fuss has been made. I suppose they know little of what's about to be announced aside from the rumors. Rue nudges me again, not so sadly pointing in the direction of a particularly surly-looking knight who wears a cape the color of blood. That one is a new knight commander, Lady Olivia Vasile. She was Eric's youngman. They call her many names, most of them tinged with death. He actually does have a daughter? Rue shakes her head. No, not by blood anyway. He near enough raised her, though. Then, before we're blessed with the presence of one of my countryfolk, the man climbs onto the stage with great difficulty, sweating before he's even standing straight. He's introduced as Lord Edwin. Lord Edwin, oh, great is the power of our gods, felt in the strength of our Lord and Lady. Oh, how wondrous it's go now and talk to her, or listen to him. We're gonna zone out. The split second he starts spouting his nonsense, I zone out and turn to my companion. I try to get their attention with a gentle nudge of my shoulder against theirs, and they turn to face me quickly, grinning that violent grin that seems to be so misplaced on such a cute face. Bored already? Because same. They roll their eyes, hard, I speak in a hushed tone after the gentleman standing beside us throws a rather impressive glare on Rue's way. This isn't exactly what I expected, and Victor's things are a lot less fluffy when it comes to such serious matters. Pageantry is odd. Jovians are notoriously good at sweeping things under their very heavy rides when pretending things are swell. Many sinister goings-ons happen around here, but you never suspect a thing if you listen to these numpties. They grab their gun towards the pile of slack. Unfair is what it is. They think the people to be fools, but they just want an easy life. Or, as easy as they can in such a world. Novians are as bright as the sun that shines upon them. Think about what they say carefully. If the past is so eager to treat their constituents like imbeciles, then you can see where there have been whispers of unrest brewing. And now an assassination attempt. Thus my placement here really was perfect timing. Unrest is what I do best. When he's finished, Lord Edlin bounced clumsily, stumbling off the stage after introducing the new ambassador from Vithris, who they've delegated the task of delivering the all-important speech. Poor fucker. They really want to show how chummy and friendly we are with your country. As much as I'm currently indifferent to the crowd, I do have a little hope inside me that this ambassador doesn't fumble their words or straight up pass out. Us Vithrians are better than that. Enlightening as last night's events were, it's only natural that great leaders like his and her majesties of this fair kingdom have the most formidable of enemies. It's also very cool that in these times of such adversity, we keep our senses keen, our bridges strong, and our friends close. Of this, our two kingdoms, Vithris and Errantis, are of one mind. Long have we been one another's benefactors, and longer still have we been friends. Artesian wealth is the joy of Vithris, and Vithrin grains gladly flow to fill your coffers. So has it always been, and so it will always be. I have no doubt some among you will attend with suspicions and unease in your hearts. Hear now my word and the promise of Vithris within. No matter what trouble might cast a shadow on Errantis or your fair capital, the Vithrian spirit and our friendship remains at your side. At that, the ambassador gracefully takes their leave. The crowd is quiet, so quiet you could very well hear a pin drop and take that as a bad sign. Some look confused, others angry, but most complacent? Like they're not quite sure what they just witnessed. In fairness, it was an odd move by the monarchy, but I guess having a dagger pointed at your throat does leave you feeling a little out of sorts in my experience. I guess I'm just disappointed in the lack of heckling. Drew turns and lifts his arms into mine, tipping their head in the direction Eric had previously disappeared, and tugging up their hood. Come, there will be no revolution today. I've been guiding through the slowly dispersing crowd, that annoying lord back on stage and rambling once again. I'm glad Rue didn't deem it important to hang around and listen. Once free and back in the open air, Rue releases me and rocks back and forth on the balls of their feet, their mouths twisting to the side in what looks like contemplation. I should head off. I've got folk to fill in back in the woods, you know, the pointy-eared types. They winked and wiggled said pointy ears. They are all-knowing beings. Do you really have to fill them in? Rue laughs, a musical noise punctuated with an inelegant snort. Most of us don't give two shits about this kind of crap, so we tune it out. Sometimes using words instead of thoughts is a way to pass time. It's not like we'd be wasting it. I nod my understanding, but something catches my eye. Bruce, too, by the way, their expression softens into something fond and almost stoic. Eric leans against a tree about 70 feet away, arms folded across his broad chest, golden hair flowing in the wind like it blows just for him. He looks pathetic, really, for such a formidable figure. Bruce sighs heavily, resting their hand upon my arm. Why are they all so attractive? They squeeze gently, their eyes soft. I feel warm radiating from them, and something inside me tells me I found a friend in this day. Don't be a stranger now, will you? And be nice to my little snake, but watch out for his fangs. He might look soft, but he's twice as likely to strike as the others. I'll try. They wink, tucking down the edges of their hood to make sure it stays in place. Then they're wandering off towards a brooding X-bite. I watch them from where I stand, Bruce sliding their arms through his, just as they had to me mere moments ago, with a little more tenderness. He whispers something to him, and his mouth quirks into a charming little smirk. Bruce seems to have a knack for coaxing softness from people who are otherwise hard to crack. I decide to leave them be, weary from a long morning, and with a horribly early start where I waited for Layla for far too long, so I drag myself back to my humble abode and wait for night to fall. We're almost there. I make sure I get here early because after only knowing to read it for about an hour, I definitely don't trust that he won't try to pull a fast one on me on plain tardiness. It's a beautiful night here in Novus, sky clear and full of fat, twinkling stars. The streets are so quiet, and in the distance is the palace, which positively glistens with light. The light glow emanates from a few of the tall tower windows, and I can't help but wonder who stays up at such an hour. I could very well find myself getting lost in thought, just staring at it. Then a pair of warm leather-clad hands cover my eyes. I don't even bother tensing or screaming or being surprised at all. Raiden. In fairness, he was impressively quiet in his approach, despite his earlier heavy-footed nature. I carefully curl my fingers around his wrist and turn to face him, quirking my brow accusingly. He taps and drops his hands. There's a loud and entirely too dramatic smack when they fall against his thigh. His fight is actually impressive. Well, you're no fun, are you? Could have been anyone in these spots and you just stood there. You're not normal. Okay, you really don't win with either of these responses. Yeah, if you say you heard him coming, he calls you out, and then you ask, am I not normal? It kind of like, what you say is, it's like he's an assassin. What else do you expect him to do? I decided a little white lie never hurt anyone. Well, maybe it'll start to wound his ego a little, but I'm willing to take a gamble. I think he could do with being brought down a few pegs. Where are you coming, actually? You're not as soft-footed as you think. He doesn't flinch, doesn't even so much as blink. Apparently, the snake has full confidence in his ability to slither around undetected. Nope. Did you? No, you didn't. No one ever does. I like that you enjoy games, though. I'll keep that in mind. I don't show it on my face, but I should probably worry about that. Anyway, come on. We can't dilly-dally. We have people to knock out and play palaces to break into. Because it was such naked enthusiasm, I find myself feeling excited about a little post-midnight excursion, but did you say people to knock out? Raiden, did you say? I said no dilly-dallying. Keep up. I mean, I'm game, but some clarification wouldn't hurt, right? He skips off and I dutifully follow him. Hopefully the universe is on my side tonight. Raiden did an excellent job of lecturing me on how not to fuck up this evening on the walk to the palace, which takes a good 30 minutes, even with him striding well ahead of me, like his life depends on beating me. He laughed off my concern over there being increased security after the assassination attempt, proudly proclaiming that he'd actually managed to break in last night. I gather he does that often, for shits and giggles apparently, if that's what him saying out of one of my usual visits suggests. I ignore the fact that someone tried to kill the Queen last night, and that he's just bragged about being there right after. Instead, I asked him if he's mad, and he just shrugged, so I decide that he is. Yeah, absolutely not. I also asked him what kind of business he has at the palace for it to be a commonly occurring thing, and all I could muster was a cheeky grin followed by some lewd hand gesture. All that did was give me an impression that he might be fucking the king or queen, or someone of equal importance by how bloody smug he looked about it. Gee, I wonder. Actually, what kind of thing said it on the other routes? We've only do reach the castle and struck by just how huge and opulent it is. The architecture is romantic almost. The towers are thin and tall and covered in delicate golden embellishments, indistinguishable from afar. The pointed turret sounding proud and sharp like the tip of a sword. It looks like it's been conjured straight from one of the fairy tales I used to read as a child, every line and curve, set to perfection. This fortress is built to withstand any war, built on the blood and bones of those who dare to defy it, and something about that thought sends a thrill rolling sweetly down my spine. To live in such a home would surely change you. The people that sit behind those reinforced walls, thinking of ways to better themselves behind those with less power than them. Those paranoid and anxious back themselves to the brim with weapons, and those who know how to wield them, as well as diplomats with minds that could outsmart any foe. Boy, you plan on standing there all night? You have to time us properly, you know. Raiden stops me from my meetings, and I come back into my body, staring at him with wide eyes as he wildly gestures at me from a patch of trampled wildflowers. The grass around his hair is long and untouched, the perfect place to sneak past any prying child's eyes as we round the side of the gatehouse. His hair is so white it seems almost translucent in the moonlight. Sorry, just taking it in. He stares at me for a beat before nodding once, his expression unreadable, but it takes him a little longer than usual to drag his eyes from me. When he next speaks, his words are softer, lacking their usual bite. Come on, stay close to me, alright? He tells me the gardens are accessible to anyone, but I'm not entirely sure I believe him when I see what we have to do to get inside. A little while later, after we've waited for a guard to finish the perimeter sweep every 15 minutes, we make a beeline for a wall that, if it was a little less nimble, we'd never have gotten over. 12 foot at least, and Raiden disappears over the top without pausing to take a breath. It's annoyingly impressive. He didn't even break a sweat, not one beat. He turns into a shadow, moving like a snake, and as if he doesn't have any parts that stick. He slithers. When my feet hit the ground on the other side, they find soft, crisp grass, greener than anything I remember seeing back home, where our forests are teeming with bay, and make a point of keeping everything impossibly vibrant. So, aside from the perfect grass and the bushes that overflow with blossoming flowers, the gardens look like they fell into neglect. The corners along the paths are cracked and held together by thick flesh of vines that curl around them like a coil, choking the crumbling stone. There's a line of statues that reflect nights, and they also seem to have succumbed to that time, covered in welts that look like this place has seen many a sword fight. There's an almost eerie quality to it, something in the air making me uneasy. This is where traitors come to die. I spin to find Raiden weaving gracefully between the columns, the light from the circle glowing blooms that layer the vines, making his skin seem even warmer than it already is. It's ominous, especially paired with that sentence. All of them? He has to laugh through his nostrils. Just the slippery ones. So, traitors like you then? He stands beside me, but it doesn't linger long. His posture is noticeably different, less relaxed. I wonder if it's just because he's being cautious. We are in a place we're very much not supposed to be, after all. But then Raiden doesn't seem like the type to be scared of anything. He's drawn toward the statue, staring up at its head and narrowing his gaze. It's so quiet, I almost feel like I shouldn't breathe. Funny that 3 newcomers all turn up around the same time, all from your home country, right? A knight, an ambassador, and you. You're a little different from them, though, aren't you? Nah, you're not like them, I guess. Not lying beneath fancy sheets that cost more than most folks' homes, are you? All I had to do was show up for the guild to offer you entry at the click of a finger. He hangs up on the statue, his arms wound around its neck. He sees the fox kiss it, swear on its crumbling lips. Then he glimpses of the Raiden I'm used to, slipping through his newly stony facade. Instead, he swings himself from side to side like a child would in a playground before launching himself backwards, gracefully landing before me with a smug look on his face. But why exactly are you here? What are you talking about? He ignores me. You know, assassins don't have anything to lose other than ourselves, which is why we're all so terribly arrogant. His expression's eyes shifted into something stranger. The air around us seems to change, to move colder somehow. When he takes a step closer, it's like I'm looking at a different man. Gone is his boyish charm and the playful shimmer in his eyes, and then I fully comprehend what I'm looking at. A killer. No one wants to be friends with a ghost, let alone fall in love with one, and our families are long dead or simply cease to exist. Maybe we grow from trees. He smiles again, but it isn't like before. It isn't warm or playful, and nor does it have any real feeling behind it. It's the first time since I met him where his smile seems sinister. Bitter, even. Can't think of what he's trying to do or achieve with his little speech. So tell me, why would you long to crawl in such darkness when all that seems to stretch before you is white? Did you bring me here just to interrogate me? There's no white in what I do. What do you want from me? I scoffed at that. Light? I can see light stretched out before me. I step forward and squint at him. He looks a bit miffed. Are you a seer or something? Can you tell me how long I'm going to die? No, how I'm going to die. I raise my hand to prick his forehead for dramatic effect, but he swats me away with a hop. You're supposed to be intimidated by me. I smile and then I let it fall from my face, just like he said when he went all cold. I'm a spy. There's nothing fancy about what I do. I want a pretty path laid out before me, littered with riches or bathed in light. You of all people should know that we're one and the same, you and I. You either trust me or you don't. But it looks like your guild wants me to make use of me. So whatever issue you have with that, you might want to let it go. Smiles. It sounds. Alright. Alright. Alright? Just alright? He shrugs and plucks a flower from one of the bushes, tossing it in the air and catching it by its stem. Yeah, just like an initiation thing, I guess. I do it with everyone. Made it look cry was just from giving him the same speech. I don't even think it's that scary, but the pressure must have gotten to him out of something. He laughs and hands me the flower. It goes quite unnaturally, and I'm not really sure I want to touch it. So you're really in then? I nod and I flash the bloom from his fingers and place it at the base of one of the statues. Of course I'm in. What else would I be doing here with you? He smiles and fixes the placement of the flower, straightening it unnecessarily, before he glances at me with eyes that sparkle with wickedness. Anything I can think of. Anyway, I guess you better do what we came here to then, huh? That's it? You're done trying to catch me out? For today. Okay. Just need to grab something. I know I said it before, but we are almost done. Should help. The wall of ivy had simply hidden a further patch of garden that looked much like the other. The portion stands a fountain and I tense my hand going to my dagger, but when Raiden strides off ahead of me, quite keenly to greet the tall and unnervingly attractive stranger, I relax. They exchange a whispered conversation that I'm definitely too far away to hear, but I do notice the roll of the stranger's eyes as Raiden snorts obnoxiously. Apparently, his charm felt similarly here, too. Then he turns and beckons me over with a tilt of his head, his fluffy white hair still shining in the moonlight. But I finally come face to face with him, I'm struck by how much I could feel behind that gaze. And yes, it's Lucian. Of course it is. They stare me down with eyes the color of smoke, so bright against their dark skin and fringed by even darker hair, as black as the sky, but far shinier at the ends at their waist. They're unquestionably striking, unnervingly so. In fact, this is the noble who caught my eye earlier at the speech. Maybe not a noble after all. So, this is the shadow. Nasreen, this is the strange woman with glasses at him, and Raiden is silent without question. You may call me Lucian, Nasreen. It's a pleasure to make your acquaintance. Raiden smiles, but at who, I'm not entirely sure with how quickly he looks between us. Lucian seems to be stifling a smile of their own, and then they turn their attention back on me. I wonder exactly what has them so amused, or if that's just what their face looks like. Raiden has filled me in on your arrival, and I thought how fun it would be for us to meet. They offer me their hand, and I feel compelled to take it, not an ounce of unease in my gut, as I curl my grip around them and feel their warmth and something else. Something unfathomable, sinking bone deep. You work for the guild too? I feel stupid the second I say it, especially when they tip their head back and begin to laugh. Raiden throws me a smug look, and I find myself wanting to wipe it off his face. Of course Lucian isn't a guild member, not wearing an outfit like that. Only a noble or a royal would have the gall to wear something so wonderfully glamorous and impressively indecent. Not quite, no. However, I do still find myself surrounded by snakes somehow. So maybe I could consider such an occupation at a later time. Can't tell if they're joking, their voice cool and smooth as silk, no matter what words fall from their mouth. I find myself letting out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding, but Lucian seems unfazed by my apparent insult to whatever wonderful and probably important title I hold, still smiling brightly. They gather the skirt of their long robes in their hand and take a seat upon the edge of the fountain, slowly crossing their legs and looking entirely too comfortable. They raise a dark eyebrow at Raiden and tilt their head, their eyes surveying him from head to toe in a lazy drag. Don't you have someone to kill, little snake? Raiden actually blushes, and for that alone, I find myself enjoying Lucian's company immensely. Maybe they can teach me how to do that. And file away another tick in favor of using little snakes for later use, despite his earlier warning in the tavern. I was just waiting to see the. Lucian laughed softly, touting and full of disapproval. It doesn't ever show, I suppose. I gaped at them both, my brain doing 100 miles a minute, trying to figure out what the fuck is going on here. Show? Is this a sex thing? Go on, Lucy, do it. Lucian rolls her eyes, and either my vision blurs, or the air around them literally shifts and wobbles in the way it might be when you look through the vapors that linger over the flame of an open fire. It even feels warm, like I'm standing too close to something dangerous, something that could very well destroy me and everything around me, without a second thought, if it wanted. A curtain of shimmering golden light washes over them as I take a careful step backwards, and once I'm done blinking the what the fuck from my eyes, no longer to sustain Lucian sit before me. No, this is a very, very different Lucian indeed. I look at Raiden, who looks right back at me like he's eagerly waiting for me to shit my pants, and then I drag my attention back to the demon. Lucian. Is this still Lucian? Simply continues to smile at me like absolutely nothing happened. Their hands outstretched, palms turned upward as a shimmer of light, of magic, swirls in their palm like a mini hurricane. It flickers and fades, snuffs out as they curl their golden gilded fingers. Ta-da! I swallow thickly, staring at the horns that now protrude from their silky black hair, and trailing down, taking stock of the periwinkle hue of their skin that seems to glisten in the moonlight. And, I mean, literally glisten, like thousands of little stars are etched into their flesh. So quite frankly, and apparently literally, otherworldly, I find myself huffing a laugh of disbelief and biting my tongue to prevent a litany of ridiculous questions falling off of it. Raiden's voice snaps me out of my self-induced thrall, and I watch as he takes Lucian's hand and presses a kiss to their knuckles, bowing gracefully as he steps away from them. I guess that's my cue to leave then. Ambassador, a pleasure, as always. Then he rounds on me, reaching for my hand to apparently give me the same reverent farewell. Steady catches himself grimaces and then prods me in the shoulder. And you be nice, or they'll probably give me an earful, alright? I clear my throat, wanting very much to give him some snark, but finding it a little bit difficult to concentrate and making my brain work, so I simply nod and offer him a week. He seems amused by my sudden mutism. Great chat. Gives Lucian another quick look, then throws me one that lingers, and then he's off, tugging up his hood as he expertly scales one of the crumbling pillars. He runs along the top of it until he's engulfed by darkness. And here I stand, left alone with a well-dressed demon, wondering how I'm going to get out of here without my colleague. I stand and blink unnaturally into their general direction. Did he say ambassador? Lucian shrugs. Our dear king and queen thought it would be fun to add a little diversity to their staff. I assume demons are typically not an applicant for such a position, but far be it from me to complain. They appraised me for a moment, and now I know why I felt like such weight behind their gaze upon first sight. I'm not unaccustomed to seeing people such as them. Most common and when you have an occupation like mine, but okay, one moment. My headset was dying. Come, take a seat. Don't be shy. They gesture to the empty space beside them upon the lip of the fountain, the gold-tipped stones clicking quietly against the stone. So do we sit beside them, or do we stay standing? I oblige with little hesitation, deducing that if they're a friend of Radiance, then they're mine too. Right? So someone like me being this close to Novus ambassador feels inherently fucking weird. Lucian tips their chin and looks up at the stars, a small smile upon their lips that reveals their pointed canines. I think they're pleased. I don't seem to be I think they're pleased I don't seem to be afraid or wary of them. Tell me, Natri, what do you desire? I turn my body slightly so I can get a proper look at them and let their questions sink in. Desire? They nod, sighing before I apparently become more interesting than the night sky. Their eyes crinkle at the corners, their smile soft and more welcoming. People come and go at the blink of an eye to me, so why do those like yourself seek to set yourself on such a dangerous path? There's a kind of desire, a lust with those I've never met, admit to thrill-seek in various ways with little regard for their own mortality. Be it my fellow ambassadors who put their lives in the line simply debating politics and trees in a society where a slip of the tongue could get your head on the tip of a spike, or people such as yourself and Maiden who literally go looking for things that can end them in the blink of an eye. So what is your aim in being here? Why join the guild and put yourself at the forefront of all of this unrest? I just go where I'm told. I want to snipe out injustice and want the people to find peace. Let's be a little noble. There are many injustices in our world, and from what I've heard, Novus is one of the places that almost needs a little push. When their dark, perfectly sculpted brows rises high. Push, and in which direction do you intend on pushing? I smile. I have yet to decide. Lucian laughs. It's like velvet, zingy and delicious. I think I might like you. They incline their heads, still smiling, still very much assessing me. Today has been weird. Lucian stands and clicks my hands behind her back, wandering off at a leisurely pace towards one of the seemingly abandoned buildings that litter the gardens. Getting there, I find myself rushing to catch up, to keep in step with them. Where are you going? I want you to meet someone. I roll my eyes and hope they don't see. I should probably try and rein that in, but hanging around Reagan all day has been a bad influence. I'm really quite proud of being passed around. I'm really quite bored of being passed around at this point. Ooh. Lucian gestures for me to go ahead of them, and I see a huge set of wooden doors before us as we turn the corner. They're at least 50 feet high and bear marks that could look very much like daggers or knives or claws. I read about a giant spider demon roaming these gardens once. It devoured nearly everyone in sight. The details are shady, but it was a terrifying enough tale to stick. And I look back at Lucian, and they watch me expectantly, their eyes widening as if they're saying, "Go on, open them." I take a deep breath and pray to the gods that my instincts aren't failing me, and I press my palms to damaged wood and push. We really are almost there, I promise. The room that I find on the other side of the door is vast. The ceilings are as high as you'd imagine they would be inside the palace itself. It's just navy blue dotted with golden stars and tiny moons in varying phases. There are also some pretty terrifying stone gargoyle come angel looking monstrosities looming over us. I feel like if I look too long, one of them might blink. The windows at the side of the building are non-existent, simply arches of void of any glass that the moonlight greedily streams through. There's not even any pews, no altar, no nothing. Just unkempt greenery that grows through the cracks in the floor and walls. I turn to find Lucian watching me, and they dip their chin and pass me by, heading further down what I assume was once the aisle. If this place ever even was anything more, I'm confused by the noble aesthetic, to be honest. The sound of Lucian's boots clicking against the uneven stone is the only noise I can hear. It's then that I see we're not entirely alone. Silhouetted against a streak of broken moonlight that shines through the intricate stained glass window at the very end of the aisle is a woman dressed in rich blue and gold. Her eyes are fixed upon the ceiling, her hands clenched in front of her, and her lips move in silent prayer. She must know Lucian is here, that we're both here, and she doesn't let that disturb her. It's the first time I felt even a semblance of peace all day. For that alone, I'm grateful for the stranger's presence and apparent devotion. I wonder which god she's praying to. Then Lucian finally steps forward and rests their hand upon her shoulder, squeezing lips in a gesture that is unmistakably comforting. The woman smiles warmly at them, her eyes twinkling at the corners, and then her gaze finds me, her expression neutralizing a little, but so friendly. She tucks whatever she holds down the front of her dress and pats Lucian's hand with her own as she turns to face me. Are you going to introduce me to your friend, Lucian? Lucian holds out their hand as if they expect me to take it, but instead I simply step forward and until I'm close enough for us both to get a good look at each other. They smirk and drop their arm back to their side. My lady, this is Nasreen from Vitrus. Nasreen, this is Lady Masha Ongiza, Novus' Grand Archmage. So, this is the one who's the pride of place in Eric's tragic story, then. I don't miss the way her eyes widen at the mention of where I'm from. I guess I should get used to that, since everyone has a weird bone to pick with such information. But she's clearly good at keeping her composure, because her expression once again neutralizes into something friendly and unquestionably kind. She lets me take her hand, but I refrain from pressing a kiss to it like most do when meeting a lady of her stature, simply offering her a polite bow and a gentle squeeze before I release her. Don't want to spook her now, do I? A pleasure, my lady. The pleasure is mine. Where did you meet such a lovely friend, Lucian? You haven't spoken of Nasreen before. And from Vitrus, too? It would appear we're being overtaken by people from your wonderful country recently. Ah, yes, Drayden did mention that, didn't he? A coincidence or not, I'm none the wiser. Mutual friend put us in touch just this evening. Marshall looks at Lucian with narrowed eyes and talks quietly, but it's playful rather than shaming. Mutual friend, did you say? Does that friend happen to be the snake that so loves to break into our home? Lucian seems unbothered by the fact that she's absolutely correct, simply staring down at their hands before looking at me with a lazy grin. It would appear Rada's reputation precedes him. Frankly, I'm amazed he's alive. Or maybe I'm amazed at how shit the palace's security seems to be. Perhaps, but that isn't important. What is important is that our friend here longs to get to know Novus a little better. Isn't that right? They watch me expectantly with a look that says, don't fuck this up. And so I smile and nod. I'd love the chance to ask you a few questions if you'd be so kind as to humor me. Only if you'll allow me to ask you a few questions in return. I do love this, but I've not had the chance to visit in some time now. Ah, does she think I'm a noble, just like this, and with friends like Drayden? No, because I see that smile that plays upon her plush lips. She's toying with me. It happened almost a nervous laugh. My lady, forgive me, but I'm no noble. I've never even set foot in the Vithrin Palace. She raises her eyebrow, instantly sniffing out a lie. Not just by invitation. And then she laughs, a sound lighting up the room and bouncing off the walls. It's delightful, and Lucian appears to be highly amused by our little exchange. But then I don't think they have any other expression other than attractively smug. I appreciate your honesty, something which is severely lacking in these parts. Her and Lucian exchange a knowing look. So, what are your intentions here, and how exactly did you find your way into the palace grounds if you have no business here? Yeah, I can't tell if she's angry or not, because she's very good at making everything she says seem perfectly reasonable, which of course it is. I do have absolutely no place here, after all. I'm a total snake in the grass. I actually have no idea. I was hoping to help. Right. Well, I guess I better come up with something good pretty fucking fast then, hadn't I? You know, if I like living. Archmages aren't called that for fun. They tend to be pretty terrifying with all their magic and no knowledge. I'm sure that she could zap my arse back to Vitrus, or worse, pretty fast if she fancies. I want to help with the assassination. She glares at me. I mean, with finding who tried to assassinate, not to actually help with the assassination. And make a mental note to stab Raven with his own dagger when I next get the chance. Then myself. Lucian still doesn't help what they apparently quite enjoy being, just stands there. I see. Well, I am personally hesitant to accept help from a stranger, specifically one as peculiar as you, if I'm being frank. As I'm sure the other members of the council would be, I think they're your true intentions, after all. And you have broken into the palace, have you not? I clench my jaw, exhaling through clamped teeth. I'd rather not divulge exactly how I gained access to the palace, my lady. I don't think she likes that very much. I am fully aware of how you gained access, so do not tire yourself. She looks at Lucian, and I'm pretty sure they wink at her. Apparently, she's amused by the gesture, which is weird. I have whiplash. I'm a spy, for fuck's sake. This is my life, and I'm not going to blow it on the first day. Certainly not when I can feel rated hoping that I do. So I can stick his stupid tongue out at me and say, I knew you wouldn't last. As quickly as it's been talking to you, I really should get going. I have some business to attend to back in town. Terribly sorry to have disturbed you. I turn on my heel, and I begin to get the fuck out of here before either of them has a chance to think about stopping me. But then Masha says my name and causes me to pause. Everyone in this kingdom will be watching and waiting for you to phone action. I pause. But I do ask that you take care of time with whatever you're here to do. People of Novus deserve that. They deserve more than they've been given. She has heart. I'll give her that. Is it really so hard to so bad here that even an archmage is looking to give an outsider, a shadow, like myself, the chance to find the brat and rip it out? I praise her one last time. I'll try my best, I swear it. Just leave her mention Eric. Oh, we're gonna. She nods her thanks, but her brow is drawn, pinched in the middle. Lucian stands beside her still, waiting, observing, doing little to add to the conversation. I decide to offer her a little something, a parting thought, if you will. Eric was worried for you today. I just thought you should know. I may be far away, and it may be dark, but I still see her bright blue eyes widen as his name falls from my lips. A weakness, one for keeps. I smile to myself. Then I quickly bow, and I turn on my heel and leave. The second I'm back in the gardens and the warm Novian air hits my face, I feel like I can finally breathe. Then I laugh in an attempt to release apprehensive tension that's wound me so tight since I first met Raiden this morning. Bit of a day. I'd almost forgotten how exhilarating doing such fucking stupid things like this can be. And so now I'm really in it then, aren't I? I have my work set out for me. Novus is on the precipice of change. It sinks in its very foundation, screaming for help. Wayward assassin, the broken knight, the fairy, the demon, the archmage. All of them are powerless, and they don't even know it, but I do. I like to think that I know what Novus has in store for me, and I cannot wait to begin to get to know it a little better. And the prologue. At last. Yeah, my voice is dying. Okay, so we will pick up with the first chapter of the Ambassador wrap next week. My plan is to have the prologue re-recorded before then. Give my voice a chance to recover. I will not be recording it today. So until then, I hope you all have a good week and a good holiday if any is there for you. And until next time, just take care. Bye.